I'm a very strong believer that if people travel more,
Mm,
there will be less misunderstanding among
mm.
countries, politics, cultures, everything.
In 2014, three young men in Hong Kong founded a travel booking website called Klook. By December 2019, Klook was valued at over $1 billion and had more than 1,000 employees worldwide. Then the COVID-19 pandemic happened. Borders were shut and leisure travel all but disappeared. It almost felt like the end of the world, says Gnock Fah, one of Klook's co-founders. But the company picked itself up, focused on domestic travel, and now believes there's a silver lining to the pandemic. I'm having a Zoom lunch with Mr. Gnock Fah, who's in Hong Kong. I've brought along some dim sum, and he's having rice with chicken.
I mean, you've been asked this many, many times. So, I mean, how did Klook start?
Me and my friend Ethan, we were just thinking, what is something that we can start in Hong Kong that don't just rely on 7 million people? Because that's just too small of a market. And that's where we stumbled onto travel. I still remember going to Nepal was like, I think 6-7 people of us. And then just researching what to do, and then finding a reliable tour operator on the ground took us like so much time to research and plan. And then after speaking to the person, we're like, okay, so let's go through payment. And they were like, oh, sorry, I don't accept credit cards. How could, in today's world, even on payment, they cannot do digital payment? And then not to mention getting reviews about the tour operator and then able to seamlessly make the booking, etc. And that's where kind of the experiences angle came in on that front.
And then you had to start like going out to merchants to get them to sign on.
I still remember in the days we'll go to Singapore, go to Sentosa and knock on the doors of the different merchants and activity providers and ask them to get onboarded onto the platform. And then in Hong Kong, it was interesting. Back then, a lot of the merchants just didn't care about going digital because they had so much business that were coming from China through a group tour. Generally, businesses in Singapore are more open to technology and how to scale up faster on that end.
Can we talk a bit about your childhood? Because it's interesting that you were from Mauritius.
I think indeed to me it's quite an interesting, I think, because I relate strongly to my childhood to what I do today. So as I mentioned to you, like basically we're like the 1% population of the 1 million people. I think as a minority growing up in Mauritius, it was about bridging cultures. And you're a bit more sensitive to different cultures. And I think travel just kind of really fits in very well. Because I'm a very strong believer that if people travel more, there will be less misunderstanding among countries, politics, cultures, everything. One of my most memorable trip in the recent times was actually going to Israel and then crossing over to Palestine by foot. So much conflicts going on there. Kind of really eye-opening in terms of culture, understanding cultures, understanding history, and then understanding where people are coming from. That's probably causing a lot of most misunderstanding.
If we can just talk a little bit about COVID. I mean, were you very depressed? Or were you excited at the opportunities?
Definitely, I think at the beginning, it almost felt like end of the world. I mean, to be very frank, it just dropped to zero from, we were doing over $1 billion of transactions. But very luckily, I think as a tech-driven business, and then plus people being very open-minded, we managed to quickly pivot to now focus on domestic consumption and leisure. And I think that's a new business that we never thought about getting in. And then obviously the international business, when they come back, will continue to be our bread and butter. So the two engine of growth is what we are now excited about.
Thanks very much for lunch and your time.
No problem.